Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, so that means I'm welcoming you to another episode of Chaz Calenda, attorney at law, here on the Coalition Radio Network. I'm your host, Chaz Calenda, and I'm an attorney at the law firm of Inman and Torgy here in Coventry, Rhode Island. And as usual, I'll be hosting tonight's show. As you know, we've been following statewide and national legal and political issues and topics here on the show, and tonight will be no different. On occasion, we've had some political candidates join us, and that is going to be what we're doing here tonight. We're lucky enough to have my guest tonight, Amanda Blau, an attorney and recently announced candidate for the Rhode Island State House District 30, which covers parts of East and West Greenwich here in Rhode Island. She's going to tell you all a little bit about herself, and we'll discuss some of the issues facing the residents of House District 30. Amanda, thank you for joining me tonight, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chaz. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
You too, and thank you for coming on. Amanda, you jumped in the race for House District 30. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm completely in now.
Excellent. So glad to hear that. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and what made you decide that this was going to be the year that Amanda Blau was going to run for House District 30.
Yeah, so I grew up in Hopkinton, went to URI, worked for a little bit before going to law school at the University of Michigan. I'm still still a practicing attorney today. I work mostly from home, and that's a product of COVID. And I'm living in West Greenwich, and I have prior experience in public service. When I was at URI, I served on the Charahoe School Committee for 4 years. At the time, what was bothering me and what was important to me was the education system, and specifically that's my former school district, and wanted to make sure that my voice was heard, that my peers' voices were heard, and that I could have an influence in the direction of that school system. And proud to say that that's a top school system in our state. I did take some time away and furthered my career, got my JD at Michigan, but I have the a very similar feeling now about the state as a whole. This is my home. My family's here. I want to make sure that my family can afford to stay here, that my family and when I have kids, that they can grow up here, and that this state is moving in a direction, or that I'd like to see it move in a direction where the residents can enjoy it, and it really meets its enormous potential. For me, that feeling translates into running for office. I'm not really a sit on the sidelines kind of person. And so when I feel like I can make a difference, like there's a role that I could step into, give my time, give my resources, give my experience and my energy to make a difference, I do it. And right now that means the State House and District 30.
I absolutely get it. And it sounds like kitchen table issues are going to be big for you here in this race. Certainly you have an impressive background. I've looked at your background as an attorney. You've certainly accomplished in everything you've done. But it sounds like you're looking to support the everyday people of Rhode Island, everybody who's coming, everybody in that District 30 who are concerned about the same kind of things, education, kitchen table issues. It sounds like those the things are going to be the cornerstone of your campaign.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I've already started walking the district, knocking doors, the kind of hallmark of a state legislative campaign. And it's been great. I am, mostly listening, and a lot of what I'm hearing for people are the same themes, that they're concerned about the education system in the state. Now, East Greenwich, West Greenwich, those are great school systems, but people are still concerned about the state education system as a whole. Parents who have high school age students are concerned about where their students are, where their kids are going to go to college. Are they going to be able to get jobs back in this state if they want to come home? Are they going to be forced to kind of stay in the states where they go to college if they don't choose to go to a Rhode Island university? anybody who has school age children, education's an issue, and it's an issue for taxpayers generally. The school districts here, the property taxes here, which go to support the town and the schools, East Greenwich, West Greenwich residents, they pay a lot in taxes, and it's important for them. They're fully supportive. I have yet to run into someone who's not supportive of the school system, but they want to make sure that they're getting, a high quality product.
They want to get
If
their
it's
bang for their buck, I would imagine, with their kids.
right, and if it's not their kids, it's their neighbors' kids or the kids down the street that they've watched grow up. And so it's a very similar tune that I heard when I ran for school committee. And I think the issues that I would be tackling would be different because they would be at a state level, not the individual school committee by school committee basis. But I think coming out of the pandemic, we're going to have big challenges in the school systems, and it may very well require state level support, and state level action. And I want to make sure that whatever the General Assembly does, or in conjunction with RIDE and the governor's office, that we are making the right decisions. We are spending federal funds the right way, and in a way that really gets people the kind of investment in education that they deserve. So I don't support spending frivolously and just for spending's sake. These are taxpayer dollars, whether they're coming from the federal government or they're coming through the state government. They need to be spent in a thoughtful, effective, efficient way. And I think one space where that's going to be a big issue is education, because we undoubtedly have had kind of a learning loss throughout COVID.
Is that a theme that you're hearing recurring on the campaign trail as you're talking to people? The loss that we've kind of suffered over these last 2 years, the educational loss?
It's been mixed. I think some people, it's really case specific for your individual student, for your kids. The isolation, the remote school, I think that's pretty universal. People are, in agreement that things were not as good as they could have been in the classroom. Teachers have an enormous impact on students, and when they're face to face and they're learning in the classroom, that's when they're the most effective. And we have great educators in this state. We just had to go through the remote learning situation. I think there's also a concern about social isolation, mental health, anxiety, stress, all of the other components that COVID brought on for children and adults that parents are really concerned about with their kids. And what I would be focused on at the state level and helping the two communities that I would represent would be making sure that students get back up to the proficiency levels and the learning levels that they had pre-COVID. I think we owe that to students, and that would be one of my primary fights.
It sounds like you have the background to do something about that, and have the knowledge to be able to voice your opinion at the State House. Do you foresee any challenges should you be elected to that seat? Do you foresee any challenges in making yourself be part of the mix in the discussion that whatever goes on up there at the State House? Do you foresee a problem with having your opinion actually being heard and taken into consideration by the leadership?
No, I don't think so. Certainly a Republican representative would be in the minority unless there is some massive change in November. But when I was on the school committee, there were Democrats, independents, Republicans. We worked with administrators, we worked with the union, we worked with students, and we worked with community leaders. So working together with people, whether it's what I've done previously in public service or what I do now as an attorney, I often have co-counsel, or, I'm working to try to get a business transaction, through something that's less adversarial, a little more collaborative. We work with people every day in our professional lives, and only in politics are we, forced to kind of join a team. in a way that people then assume is adversarial and polarizing. But my approach would be to work with whoever's interested in working with me. I mean, if other people up there want to spearhead education and want to make education in Rhode Island a top priority, let's work together. Let's do it. It won't matter to me if other people want to work hard and build a coalition and get something accomplished. That's welcome
Actually make a
news.
difference, right? Like as long as you're willing to make a difference, a positive difference in the state, you're willing to work with them. I think that's a great attitude, and it's one that unfortunately we haven't seen a whole lot of in this state recently. But I hope that if that's something if you are get elected, that's something you're able to do, because I know that listening to on the ground myself, there's a lot of concern about the education and what we're paying for it and the results we're getting from our students and everybody's kids from the school system. I mean, it feels like everybody's looking at these numbers and saying, certain school districts may be underperforming. We're not, we're paying all this money, particularly in property taxes and to the schools. And we have these low scores in certain districts, and even the good districts are kind of hurting in that respect sometimes right now. So I know this is a huge issue for a lot of people, and it looks like this is going to be one of the cornerstones of your campaign, if I'm reading you right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's things that can be done legislatively and in conjunction with our cities and towns and our community leaders. I don't purport to know everything about every issue, but what I have been promising the constituents in District 30 is that I'll be all ears. I'm happy to listen to anyone who's an expert, a professional, has experience in an area, has an opposing viewpoint, whatever it is. The more information, the better. The better educated and informed I can be as a public servant and as a representative, the better I can do the job I'm looking to do. And so I don't purport to have all the answers and know everything and can go up there all by myself and change the world. It's going to require collaboration and teamwork. And it's going to require people who are open to that kind of game plan and who are ready to work with other people on issues.
Look at that. Somebody seeking elected office who's actually going to listen to the people who's going to put her in office. I like that. I like that. Besides education, Amanda, is there any other issues that really kind of got you moving into getting into this race?
Yeah, I think another issue for me that's always kind of been front and center for my family in this state is our business climate. Over regulating small businesses, making things challenging to start up a business, stay in business. I'm hearing a lot from business owners now that staffing is their number one issue. We've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about whether they were closed down for COVID, or how the tax rate impacts them for companies, or insurance costs, if they cover their employees, what's insurance costing them. But time and again, Chaz, I hear staffing is an issue.
Oh, and how many different places have we seen that have reduced their hours? Low staffing, no indoor, you can't come inside, we don't have enough staff.
Yeah, well, and it's it absolutely affects the Rhode Island consumer. Wait times, delivery times, things that you need fixed, repaired, anything. You're on a list. You're at it'll be weeks or months away. Restaurants, coffee shops, anything that is open and needs wait staff or service staff. They're reducing hours, and I think it's only going to get tougher as the summer comes and more places that are seasonal open up and compete for staff. I grew up in Hopkinton. We're not close, not far from Westerly, Narragansett. When I was at URI, there's restaurants, they'll just open up at the beginning of the summer, and that's where young people want to work. That's where the excitement is over the summer. That's going to crush businesses in other parts of the state who are vying for talent, and across the board, across industries. We export graduates in the state of Rhode Island. We don't import talent. We don't fill up our professional pipelines in healthcare, in the trades, in the technology sector. And that's a problem. That's unsustainable for a state to have a decreased workforce over time.
Especially considering the schools that we have here in this state. We got Brown University, we've got RISD, we've got all these different, high level, high tier schools that we're supposedly producing, outstanding young talent in various different areas of the workforce. And we're having a hard time keeping them here. And, what are some of the things that you might propose? I'm not going to hold you to it, but what are some of the things you might propose that would keep people staying in here in Rhode Island and putting their talents to use, helping everyone here, the citizens of Rhode Island?
Yeah, so I think there's two things. I think there's been a big push recently for everyone to go to college. And I don't I mean I went to URI, I went on to get my law degree. I like school, but I don't begrudge anyone the opportunity or the chance or the ambition to go to college. But if that's not something that motivates you or drives you, and you'd like a different career path, we need to make those career paths available, accessible, easy. We need to inform people of what those are. I mean, New England Tech is right here in our backyard here. That's a phenomenal school. Those, and when those graduates are done with their education, they need to be able to get jobs here. So we need to promote the businesses and help the businesses that will employ those people. My job is now, for the most part, remote. And I think that Rhode Island could really look at, what kind of policies and tax incentives we have for the remote workforce. You could have a job you could graduate from URI, or you could graduate from Brown or Salve Regina or Bryant, and you could have a job in Seattle. But if that job is remote, we want you sitting in Rhode Island and going out to dinner on Rhode Island and grabbing lunch in Rhode Island and spending your tax dollars here and earning your income here. And that's, I think, something that's coming down the pipe for a lot of industries, is that they're going to have a portion of their workforce that's remote. And why wouldn't we want those talented individuals in our state and contributing to our communities and our schools and, coaching our little leagues? I think we have to look at the modern workforce and start to, peel back some of the regulations that make it hard for businesses that are based here to operate, but also look at the worker separate and apart from the entity that employs them.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we're starting to come to that realization. At least, I mean, I'm sure you see it in your practice, but I certainly see it in mine. We're going to remote court hearings. We're doing, remote anything. I can't tell you there's a week that goes by where I don't have a remote court hearing or conference or something along those lines. So it boggles my mind when I hear about the business climates not adapting to the same kind of things that even our government, our state government here is using as tools. So, I mean, I think that's a complaint that we've heard from a lot of people across the state of Rhode Island, is that, we need to modernize the workforce. We need to less, involve ourselves less. The government needs to involve itself less in regulating it and more making it accessible to the people who are going to be working in it. So, I mean, I think it's a great plan for you to be able to propose some of these ideas so we can compete with the rest of the states around the country.
And we're perfectly situated to have a thriving economy. We're on the coastline. We're between two major metropolitan areas. Great work is being done with our airport to help, and the all of our ports to kind of make us accessible to businesses of a variety of industries. We need to capitalize on that. We need to take advantage of that. We can't hamstring our businesses with taxation and regulations. My grandfather is a small business owner and entrepreneur. My father was in the jewelry industry in Providence. I mean, my family, generation after generation, my great grandfather owned a furniture store and an upholstery manufacturing plant. Every single generation has small business owners in it in my family. And, it's been harder and harder and harder every time we talk about it. Like you said, at the dinner table, those are the issues that are coming up. How can I keep my business going?
Well, exactly. And unfortunately, I think you've probably seen it too, but I've seen over the last few years, particularly, just not only because of COVID, but certainly didn't help things. You've seen these generational businesses that have unfortunately had to close their doors simply because between the regulations, the financial hit that pretty much everybody took during the pandemic years. I guess it is years at this point. It's kind of sad, and I think Rhode Island's been hit particularly hard simply because we've had such a bad business climate to begin with because of the overregulation, the overtaxation, and it's driving businesses out of here. And I think we do need people who are going to advocate for the small business owners, for the workers of those small businesses, to be able to make Rhode Island's business climate sustainable. Because if it doesn't go in a different direction, we're really in some trouble here, and that's going to affect everybody in the state, not just in District 30.
That's right. And so, as a state representative, it's certainly important to me to make sure that the communities that I serve, that their voices are heard, and that, they're my priority. But at the General Assembly, there are a number of bills and regulations that touch all businesses across the state or all students. And so it's that dual purpose. And, like I said, if you just listen to people and you make yourself available and accessible, and you're interested in knowing what concerns people have or what ideas they have, it doesn't always have to be bad. If they have great new ideas, whether it's the business community, the hospitality industry, students at our various colleges, just listen and be accessible and available, and you'll get the answers. You just have to want to do the work and put in the time.
Well, you're certainly putting in the work and putting in the time. I've seen your campaign out there, pounding the pavement, meeting people in your district, and you're one of the most visible campaigns that I've seen so far, at least on social media. And I think that's a great thing. And what kind of feedback are you getting, just generally speaking?
So far, everyone has been really positive about the campaign aspect of it. I am hearing a lot of concerns about the future of the state of Rhode Island. The one thing from being from here, and that I've heard, everybody loves the state. People do not want to leave Rhode Island. It's their home. It's my mom's down the street, my uncle's in the next town, my cousins are all over. I mean, right. People genuinely love this state and they want to stay here. They're just faced with the financial reality that they can't. And that's a problem. I mean, that's just a complete disservice to, residents of Rhode Island. I love it. Some nights are rainy and foggy and nasty like tonight. Some weekends are great and beautiful and sunny. And it's just a pleasure talking to people, to get to know people and to find out what we have in common. And, the biggest advocates are the dog parents. I've now been carrying dog treats, and I make sure that I'm always prepared for everyone's four-legged friends. And you can connect with people outside of, I'm running as a Republican. Oh, I'm registered as a Democrat. Okay, well, what concerns you? What motivates you? What interests you? And we reach a point where we have something in common, and then we're just talking as neighbors and friends. And so it's been great to kind of get to know everyone and, be out and about, and get to listen to people.
And that's the job of a state representative, is to be able to listen to people and put their ideas into action. And I think you're off to a great start. And I think the citizens of East and West Greenwich in your district would be well served by your enthusiasm, and you're willing to work for them and listen to them. Because I can tell you from a personal perspective on my own situation is that people just want to be heard most of the time. They want people who are actually listening and not just giving them lip service. It's one of those situations where people can spot a phony from a mile away, and you don't have phony written on your forehead. I can tell you that right now.
No, Amanda, you're 100% right, Chaz. I mean, people, even if the answer is, unfortunately, I can't find a solution, or I can't get you the solution you want right now, they just want to know that they're being heard and that somebody is there, carrying the mantle forward with them, and that if there's some progress can be made, somebody's working on it with them.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I've seen. And I think that's what you're going to continue to see while you're out on the campaign trail. Amanda, tell everyone where they can find you, or where people who are interested in your campaign can look you up and find out a little bit more about you after the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So my campaign is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blau for D30 or Amanda Blau for District 30. The website is www.amandablau.com. People can email me, info@amandablau.com. Phone numbers on the website. Whatever means works for you, works for me.
That's excellent. I encourage every one of you who are in District 30 who are going to be deciding whether or not you want to send Amanda to the State House. Look her up, contact her, call her, email her, do whatever you got to do, because Amanda is very accessible. I can tell you just from my own experiences with her that she is very accessible and willing to listen. So I highly encourage all of you who are interested to contact Amanda, make your thoughts known, and hopefully we'll be seeing Amanda representing District 30 come January of next year.
Same to you, Chaz. Good luck on your campaign.
Oh, thank you very much, Amanda. I'm so glad you were able to join us here tonight on the show. I look forward to seeing you out on the campaign trail and hopefully having you back here on another occasion as the campaign goes on here in 2022. And I wish you the best of luck going forward on that. This is the end of the show for tonight. So I'd like to thank everybody here on the Coalition Radio Network for joining us and talking with Amanda here tonight on Chaz Calenda, Attorney at Law, which we try to do every Wednesday, but it's Wednesday nights around 8:30 p.m. on the Coalition Radio Network. You can watch us live. You can watch us on repeat. You can see it on YouTube after the fact. And while you're at it, you might as well go to the Coalition Radio Network's website and even get some of their merchandise that they have out there. I've got a couple of t-shirts myself, but anyone who's watching this can also reach me at Chaz Calenda. As I said, I'm at the law firm of Inman and Torgy in Coventry, Rhode Island, 401-823-9200. If you're interested in my campaign for Attorney General, you can also reach me at chas4ag.com and call me at my law office whenever you want. I'd reach out to me. I'd like to be accessible just like Amanda is. And thank you all again for watching us here on the Coalition Radio Network. We have another episode in the bag here at Chaz Calenda, Attorney at Law, episode number 31, I believe. And I was very thankful to have Amanda here to join me. Amanda, thank you again for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chaz. Great to see you.
You too. And thank you again for everybody for watching, and have a good night.